And here we are. Sorry, I just hit the wrong button. Great to see you all. As per usual, great to see you, Charles Satora, Tolemykus, Hissy Cat, Brian R. Smith. I hope you guys are doing well. You were saying, I'll hope everyone had a great week. I'll be honest with you, Brian R. Smith. I don't know if you saw the video I popped up earlier in the week, but my Monday started off spectacular. I've been working on something at work for an extremely long time, and it clicked. Like it happened on Monday morning so early too. I wasn't expecting that, so that just knocked me sideways. Great to see you, Meandering Mike, and please let us know how your course is going. I'd love to know about it. And actually, when we get to the narrative, I'll show you. There's something like a little bit. It was like a little bit of a nod to you. A YouTube video that I saw. I just watched it this morning. I did have it on my links thing, but anyways, I hope you guys are all doing great as per usual. I'm going to pop on the narrative now, and then we can go from there. Wait. And it looks like we're not going to be getting the ATA this week. I don't know if we ever will, or we'll maybe have to wait for William Aarons to find another source. Maybe I'll go and try to find something. Meandering Mike says course is being okay, but I'm sicker than a dog right now. Oh shoot, that sucks. It was, which is odd due to the fact that you pumped out a couple. You pumped out the Mound Builders video this week and whatnot, and I was just like, okay, I thought maybe things were on the up and up. And thank you yet again, Tolemykus, for great to see you, Corvinus Wargaming. Actually, I think you're going to appreciate the what Jeremy brings in today for Big Bertha Bingo. Brian R. Smith says, I'm a bit late on August is about over, but I decided to start an audiobook of Tuckman's. Oh, cool. And we're also going to be bringing up audiobooks as well, due to the fact that last week, I think it was, Harold Bosma sent the link for an audio of the podcast there. And I went and looked and tried to find some other ones for him. And I was like, well, obviously I'm going to share it with you guys too. Manny Mike says I finished the Mound Builder video. Okay, I gotcha. Okay, so you guys can see this. I'm just going to get rid of the Tolemykus's banner. Oops, that's actually hide the thing. I get it now. There we go. All right, so here we go. As per usual, welcome everyone. Hope you're doing great. Please let me know what you've been up to this week. Well, we know a little bit about what Meandering Mike's been up to. For the live stream fact checker, last week I mistakenly called Alexander Watson, Andrew Watson, when I was mentioning the fortress there, the Siege of Shemish and whatnot, due to the fact that the Siege of Mora is actually the longest siege in the Great War, not Shemish, what everybody seems to have thought of. Please let me know what you guys have been up to, World War I related games. I'm knee deep yet again. Just finished setting up my just finished doing the Germans, and now I'm just about to do the Russians for my Eastern conflict zone, which is great. But I still got a long way to go before I start playing that. I have been poking around a little bit more with the Soldiers game upstairs. Love that thing, man. But yet again, I want to just go through the rules and make sure I'm not missing the bits, because I keep forgetting about, oh my gosh, I could do interdicting fire and so on and so forth. Anyways, my engagement question this week I thought would be kind of interesting, I hope, is if Germany had carried out the Schlieffen plan exactly as the creator Alfred von Schlieffen had intended, would Germany have won the war? And so there you go. Last week's number was number 8. And this, like I was saying, it's just bizarre the way the random number generator keeps popping up 1914. Not this week. And we're going to go to it relatively quickly. That's for darn sure. So anyways, last week was the Siege of Mora. And here's the leaderboard so far. I've popped in the numbers. I think a fair amount of people actually did get the number this week, which will be, I'll bring over Jeremy in a second. So those are the points, because Corvinus Wargaming got Emperor Franz Joseph there last week. And but you guys are all doing good. The other thing is, the week previous, like I was saying, we have 36 guesses, even though no one got the thing. So like I said, I don't think we're going to get there's new comments, they said. Answer to number 5. Yes, France Knight. Oh, thank you, Hissy Cat. So like I said, I don't think we're going to be getting the William Aarons attrition. What did Mini War Paint Challenge? Yes, starts today. I noticed your video there, Charles Latour, with 243 miniatures all primed and ready to go. Awesome stuff, man. And Hissy Cat says, I'm working on my game design of Rick Tolfin again. Awesome. And I did not do a pinup gal on the guy of the week yet again, but we'll see what I can do here. I'm hoping this is going to be a weekly feature, like I said, of going to the Critical Past website and going hunting around looking for relatively short videos that I'm not going to get copyright infringement for because I just ordered the low res version. I mean, I don't think it's the end of the world. Anyways, this one's got it's a variety of events in World War I years, including the merchant submarine Deutschland leaving Connecticut on November 21st, 1916. There's also going to be, I think, some people from the Lusitania and so on and so forth. Anyways, we'll take a look at that. We're not going to do the Voyage of the Deutschland audiobook yet because I still clunky a little bit with it of trying to present it, and I want to present it properly. So there we go. BGG game of the week this week. It's just one thing I'm kind of happy, and I guess their filter sucks, but BGG's filter sucks due to the fact that I purposely said I don't want to see miniatures games, I don't want to see aerial games, and I don't want to see naval games. So what do I get? Pursuit, which is a freaking aerial game. I was just like, Lord of mercy, but it's really weird looking. Brian R. Smith says, the problem with hypotheticals is they don't apply to one side. If Germany persisted with Schlieffen, what would British and French do differently as well? Yep, and hopefully this will get clicking in later on. Well, we're just about to see it. So unfortunately, Paul, Harold Bosman is not here, but Harold Bosman, if you were here, Paul Hederer has your questions. We've talked about it since. Paul Hederer mentioned that, oh boy, his questions are awfully game specific. Perhaps I should fire up Vassal and we'll go from there. I said to Paul Hederer, man, you do what you want. If you think that's the best way to go, then we'll go that way. If it takes up the whole hour, it takes up the whole hour, because that just means you're going to be coming back on the show again. We can start talking about Romania proper and so on and so forth. Let's be honest, it's been a big week. So let's see what we've had this week so far. We've had Romania declare war, and then Eric von Falkenhayn's been turfed, and Hindenburg has been brought in to take over, and with his quartermaster general Ludendorff. Then we had Italy declare war on Germany, and Germany, everybody's declaring war on everybody else right now. It's pretty. And then we got the Salonika front has just gone berserk. It's interesting. Anyways, here we go with the Belgian neutrality, and also what you were mentioning there, Brian R. Smith. I did not know that. It's not what I thought it was. I thought it was like, Belgium just wanted to be neutral. But almost now I'm starting to, from what I've been reading, it almost seems like it's kind of like the Klingon Romulan neutral zone, in the sense that it was actually to keep the other, like all the major powers from going through Belgium Belgium and taking Belgium to get at the others. I was like, to keep them at bay. I was like, whoa. And that then clicks into last week when we found out about, or at least I found out about, that France earlier on, like Joffre, I think, was pushing to invade, to go through Belgium at one point to get at Germany, back in 1912 or so, or 13. And then Britain was even considering going through there at one point. I'm just like, holy Christ. This little quote is, these tasted excellent. This is from, I just wanted to bring this up very quickly. This week, the National World War I Museum and Memorial, it's been Education Week. Oh, darn it. I wish I could have been there. So it's all week for educators and whatnot. I watched one of the lectures. It was about World War I in context. Oh, great to see you. William Aronson, you did send an ATA, so we're going to do another one from just like last week in live. So it's awesome to see you, and thank you so much. Anyways, she mentions that, so she was talking about, all like World War I in context. And at one point she was, bringing into stories about, because somebody wanted to ask more questions about messenger pigeons and whatnot. And at one time the British were bringing in like huge big mounds of them kind of thing. Anyways, it was at one point, I guess, it got lost. The Canadian company found a box, found a box of these messenger pigeons and sent one back with the message, "These tasted excellent." So you can imagine, you know what happened to the rest of them. I just thought that was kind of funny. I wanted to bring that up with you guys. In the sources and links, The Storm of Steel by Ernst Junger. This is what I was mentioning, alluding to there with Harold Bosma, mentioning about the audiobooks, and you as well, Hissy Cat, is that here you go. Storm, you can like 9 hours long or something like that. Also brought in the link for World Archive audiobooks if you're interested. Also, hopefully we're going to take a quick look. I did a scan of it for the book reviews from issue number 2 of World War One Illustrated. And I think I'm going to do this each week. We've only got a few left to do. I've only got 9 issues that, and I'm so grateful that Clark Commando 1983 sent me those. It's not funny. Like even issue 3 is about the Schlieffen plan, big chunks on the Schlieffen plan and plan 17. I was like, perfect. There's the nod to you, Meandering Mike. Dice are not the answer. Board game design. YouTube video. Anyways, it's in the sources and link. It's quite interesting. But if you're really into game design or whatever, I think this is his first one. But it was quite interesting to listen to, and have primarily listened to it. And if you're also just like staring at somebody's massive collection of games, go and watch it. If you're not into whatever. Der Weltkrieg Section 29 rules artillery. I'm hoping we can super quick talk about that. Tolemykus says, I think they fed the pigeons to the lumberjacks. Yeah, and there's ironic that, well, it's not kind of side, but here I just got this book. I've been wanting to get this book for a very long time. I brought it out in the library, and then I tried to order it through Amazon. They kept saying, oh, yeah, it's on its way, it's on its way, it's on its way. It never was. And so they canceled the order or whatever. They're like, it's taking too long. So I ended up finally getting it through eBay. And this is about essentially the Canadian Railway Corps or whatever. And that was integral to what was going on there. And it was just amazing. So it was hopefully we'll get there. I watched this earlier in the week. It's by Lucasfilms, about 26 minutes long. Really good. The Powder Keg, Europe, 1900 to 1914. Good narrator. She's really good. It was good. It's a nice, succinct way of it. It was nice. Sleepwalkers. I just started watching this. I'll be honest with you guys. Christopher Clark, I've purposely avoided watching any of or listening to any of his stuff. Man, your Mex's dice are not the answer. Plus they are. Oh, well done. I'm not sure. It's just a few times it seems like other historians, he seems to be one of the donkey people, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And a few times I've heard disparaging remarks or whatever from other historians about Christopher Clark. Doesn't mean he's whatever, but I've kind of avoided whatever. And I was like, but I wanted to watch and listen to a bit of his stuff. So I did. He's quite an eloquent reader, speaker, I can tell you that much. I know I just this week as well, Harold Bosman. There you are. Great to see you. I was mentioning you a little bit there, Harold Bosma. Hope you're doing well. Is the fact that in the sources and links, I put in some audiobook stuff and whatnot. Donkey people, lions led by donkeys, thingamajig, Hissy Cat, in the sense that he, it was like when he starts to talk about sleepwalkers or looking at General Haig or whatever, these people that were, not very imaginative or so on and so forth, that didn't clue in. And it seems to be that's largely a myth. For at least that's where I'm going down the road. Corvinus Wargaming says the Sleepwalkers thesis denies a lot of conflicting interests between the Entente and Central Powers. Thank you. And we're hopefully going to get to some other stuff. I know we're 14 minutes in and I haven't even brought in Cher-Ami or the tribute thing. We will. Viva Mexico, the Mexican Revolution, 1910, 1920. I just noticed it on the Consim forum posting in World War I. That's where I go. And because, as we know, in 1916, right now, with the Mexican and Pershing there, going down there to settle things, whatnot, I thought, and we've been mentioning it quite a bit in the headlines, at least I have. And like, for example, Charles Latour, you've been interested in that. So I thought, well, there's a game out there and it looked rather interesting. So it's there. This is the Battle of Verdun, a World War I documentary by the Great War Jesse Alexander, who took over for Indian Idol afterwards. Really good. I got a lot of good. Well, I just finished reading the Alistair Horn book there, The Price of Glory. Holy F, what a good book. Son of a B. I just lent it out to Ivan there, that Bulgarian guy. I told you I've got a private library going on with at work. Not So Quiet on the Western Front, episode 41. I have not listened to it yet, but I certainly am going to. It's What If, so the First World War, which I thought was kind of interesting due to the fact that with my little engagement question of the Schlieffen plan. Germany's Western Front, translations from the German official history of the Great War. It's this book here. And essentially, I guess it's like the best secondary source you can get about Germany and the Great War, because I guess most of the primary sources were destroyed in World War II. I've started looking into, well, here's another book I'm reading. Remember, I lent out The Great War in Africa by Byron Farnwell or whatever. So I don't have that, and I'm not going to probably get it for ages, but I do have this one, The First World War in Africa. I started reading that because, as you know, I mentioned, I think previously, that I want to see if I can use soldiers or whatever and make like a scenario for Africa. And the more I'm looking into the Cameroon campaign, even when we did it a year ago, when we were with my grandiose thing of trying to do the whole book, oh my God. And anyways, and even back then with General Dobell and the difficulties they had at first, and they bringing in, it looked compelling, and it was a long campaign. It lasts over a year. And, you know, the way the Germans keep contracting back. Anyways, I've been reading up on that. It's really darn good. And hopefully we'll get to a few of the scans there. Brian R. Smith says, now the stream review is becoming like Pancoli's knowing me. Here's recap before World War I content. I can say this is a compliment. Oh, excellent. Thank you so much. So there we go, British campaign. And then here's some other things in the sources and links. These are books, not this one, that Lake Chat area. We're going to hopefully go to it as well. But here's some actual books you can get free, like that open archive thing, as well as I think Jason Henke was mentioning. Have you tried? I think it was that. It was Project Gutenberg. British campaigns in Africa and the Pacific, 1914-1918 as well. You can get it there. Here's another book you can get free. And then we're going to go off to this. And that should be about it, I think. Okay, now we're going to go. I'm going to grab. I'm going to give you the clue. Okay, we're going to stop the. Oh, no, I don't. I can just do this. That's right. I got a clue in. So we'll grab Share Me. And I'm also going to give you the first clue for whatever. I did it. I think it's going to go relatively quick this week. We'll see if I'm right or wrong. So here's your first clue. And this, I was like, whoa, interesting. Oh, I just read it this week. According to Alistair Horn, the author of The Price of Glory, I was Erich von Falkenhayn's arch enemy. Who am I? So there you go. That's your first clue. And I'm going to grab Share Me. And it's a wicked battle. I'm so glad she brought this one in this week. I was like, holy smokes, because I didn't know anything about it. And like I said, a bit of a nod for you, Corvinus Wargaming, when you're going to see what it is, what the thing is. And it's number 70, the Battle of oh shoot, I can say it in my head, but as soon as I go to say it, Sardarabad, the Battle of Sardarabad, 1918. And I'll tell you it very quickly, and I've got some pictures as well. Corvinus Wargaming says Marshal Patin. Good guess, but you are incorrect. And Tolemykus says Lloyd. Good guess, but you are also incorrect. Hold on here, I'm going to give you guys 2 points. Oh, great to see you, Crispy Galactic. I hope you're doing well. Hope your planting season, or I guess you're getting into probably harvesting now. Corvinus Wargaming says Ferdinand Foch. You are also incorrect. Brian R. Smith says Britain. You are incorrect, but you're getting the point, that's for sure. Okay, I'll give you your second clue. Hold on. One of my former bosses was Chancellor von Bülow. Who am I? Meandering Mike says Beastmaster, Falcons. Oh, cool. I flippin' loved that original movie. That was freaking awesome. Awesome movie. Full Harvest Vibe, Roland. The Kaiser, Tolemykus says, you are incorrect, but you're getting the point. Hold on here. So let me go. So yeah, the Battle of Sardarabad. It's essentially was if Armenia. So it was Armenia versus the Ottoman Empire, and just Armenia. I guess by then they were with. This was after obviously the Russian Civil War going on there and whatnot. And I guess the Bolsheviks basically said, we want nothing to do with this area right now. See ya. And left Armenia by themselves. And it was like, oh shit, from what I've been getting so far. And then the Ottomans said, okay, we're going to go in and wipe them out and keep on trucking all the way to Azerbaijan and see if we can get the oil fields in Baku, I think, or something like that. Anyway, so if Armenia had lost the Battle of Sardarabad, they wouldn't have had a nation, essentially. Brian R. Smith, you did it. Well done. Congratulations. Bethman Holveg, yes. Well done. Okay, I just got to pop you there. Well done. Meandering Mike says, Frederick von Holstein. I got to find it. Oh, Harold Bosma, you son of a bee, you're so late. You guys are close, but I don't even know who Frederick von Holstein. I'm going to have to look him up. Thank you. And if you know who he is, please let us know. Or me know, maybe everybody else does. Here, I'll give you the rest of the clues. Well done, Brian R. Smith. So, and the next one would have been, I was very concerned with German-British relations. I often butted heads with the Prussian military. And I was strongly opposed to the use of unrestricted submarine warfare. And the last one was, I am the person who famously said that Britain would not go to the aid of Belgium over a scrap of paper. And that's that. So well done, man. It's Harold Bosma. You know what, Harold Bosma, I'll give you a point just for, I mean, what the hell? It's not like anybody's going to get a car out of this. But let's be honest, 3 darn good prizes as far as I'm concerned. You get either the audio book, The Great War, which was donated by Hissy Cat, which I think is totally cool. No idea, but I want a point. So there you go. I'll give you one as well. Hissy Cat, like you need it. But and the second one is a year subscription of the PDF version of the War Diary. And no car, Telemykus, I'm sorry. And the third one is either I don't know what it is, a pound of coffee or whatever, or tea from Gamers with Coffee, which I think is totally cool. Oh, Corvinus Wargaming says, oh, it looks like there's a nice monument. I know. Holy cow, Corvinus Wargaming, when you mentioned that, let's go to the website. I was like, well, I didn't, as you know, I didn't know what the battle was. And then I went to the images to go find one. I went, whoa, what a fantastic looking monument. Manny makes us be looking at the wrong stuff here again. I want Charles to have a point. Steeple. Oh, very well. I'll give Charles Latore a point. So there we go. Hold on here. I got to get to. There was a lot of interesting little. I'm going to show you this one first. No, I'm going to show you this one because I just. It is an interesting. I think this is the YouTube video. You guys want to find it's I found it a really neat but I don't want to get into copyright infringement thingamajig and get into trouble, but I want you to see it. Oops, hold on here. Stop the screen, present the screen, share the screen. There, so it's this thing here. It's an animated version of the Battle of Sardarabad, and it's really well done. Let's just do tiny bit.
Didn't want to defend. He ordered to respond with a counterattack. Daniel Beck Pirumian, together with his troop.
There, like I said, I don't want to get into trouble, but so I showed you that bit, and then hold on here. I'm going to get out that bit for a second, and then I'm going to grab the links so I can show you the beautiful monument that Corvinus Wargaming was mentioning. It is it's like, wow, impressive. I think it's here. I think I have it here. Yeah, so here it is. Yeah, there's the monument you were mentioning, Corvinus Wargaming. I'll get myself out of here. So I'll make it a tiny bit bigger. Look at that. Holy moly. I wonder what, like those bells, I wonder like how easy it is for the wind or whatever. I don't know how they go. But anyways, like I said, I popped this in the sources and links. And look at that Black Fortress. That looks really cool too. But anyways, yeah. So as you know, like I said, and it looks like they got like all kinds of militia together. It was like their backs were against the wall. And they even had like a special little baseball based on the animated stuff I looked at. Yeah, it looks amazing. So I was really, really happy to see this battle pop up. I was like, just to find out all this information about this is the birth of Armenia, the modern Armenia. Okay, so I'm going to stop the screen for a second so I can go and take a look at the narrative. So we can, oh my God, okay, please, William Aarons, remind me about your ATA. I don't want to get screw that over here. Like I said, we can take a look. Okay, I'm going to talk a little. Well, you know what? I'm going to show you part of the Cameroon campaign, so that way. Where are you? There we go. So show you part of the Cameroon campaign, so that way, while I'm babbling about Africa a little bit, you guys can see something rather than just my face while I'm here. All right, so this is from Away from the Western Front, and we'll go to some other stuff. Harold Bosmus is the guy in the book cover behind you is a lookalike, wrong hat. Oh, that's the Crown Prince, Ruprecht. I brought him up because obviously as mentioned, well, he's all over Verdun, like there's no tomorrow. And yet again, about not going, believing the first thing I read or the most things about him being unimaginative or not being too swift or so on and so forth. It's like maybe not the case. Hold on here. I'm going to bring him in. But, yeah, for sure. Harold Bowles, my man. I'm just going to tell you right now, 100% is the fact that the reason, this is my great war stash. Essentially, that's what it is. I've never had a mustache before in my life. So there you go. What can I say so far from what I've been learning about the war in Africa compared to the Great War in Africa compared to the Great War, let's say, in Europe? It is, from what I've been seeing, a hell of a lot different than the Great War in Europe due to the fact that it seems to be much more like what we would see in Napoleonic times. I think that, for example, the Great War is the first time where there's more casualties from direct combat and battle than there is from, let's say, disease and that type of stuff. Whereas that's not the case in Africa. It's the other way around, just like it used to be. As well as you probably know, the infrastructure was a nightmare. There's lack of roads. You're dealing with the climate much more than you are dealing with your enemy in a sense. You got diseases left, right, and center. The flora and fauna wants to kill you. I mean, you got rhinoceri, elephants, lions, poisonous spiders, poisonous snakes, the tsetse fly, you name it. Not a nice place. Water is an extremely hard place to find, like good drinkable water. Killer bees, yes, that type of stuff. Ticks, jiggers, all these things. It ended up coming to the fact that they started basically essentially porters are your line of communication. That's your line of supply. That's your railhead almost in a sense. And they were starting to look at, they were essentially like, you needed 2 to 3 porters per soldier. And then that got worse, of course, as you get further and further away from certain areas. And it was just like, I think quoted in that book that said that Veto Vorbeck was mentioning that moving a company through Africa was about the same logistical nightmare as trying to move a division in the Western Front, that type of stuff. I was just like, holy Moses. So, and yet again, it was primarily a black on black affair. It was that type of combat. It was, and yet again, massively affected the entire makeup of that, of that continent. Nothing like that had ever happened. Like that type of mobilization and bringing in, changing like you're grabbing people and bringing them over to here. They were not used to this different diet and so on and so forth. Diseases left, right, and center. Anyways, we've got that. You've seen this guy before. He was part of the Siege of Mora. Hold on here. So okay, we're good. Don't worry, William Aarons. I've clued in that we're going to your thingamajig. I'm just going to go to one more thing here. I think it's this guy here. It's the soldier's burden. Oops. There we go. Yeah, I got to remind myself we're never ever going to show half the stuff. So here we are. There's another one. I thought maybe if you guys wanted to go and find out a little bit more about the Cameroon campaign and whatnot. And oh, there's Mora Mountain. My gosh, that looks so cool. And whatever. So there we go. Okay. Well, I do though. Let's hold on here. I want to stop the screen because I think there was something in the narrative I was saying. Wasn't there something about I wanted to say, please show the, don't forget the scans. Okay. So, yep. So like I said, I've been also trying to find out, it's about the, yet again, with the what ifs and so on and so forth about the Schlieffen plan. And I started reading about this guy connecting, saying how important it is to, like that book, how important it is to read it, especially for like Brits and what, like Anglos and whatnot, and so on and so forth, to try to get away, like look at where this came from. Essentially, and the guy said is that even though it is a secondary source, this bit here, it was assembled by essentially German bureaucrats and historians and whatnot to help the future Germans, I guess, military, whatever, to figure out, you know, how to do things. So they were going to certainly not try to bias it, as in like, oh, well, we're just going to make things, you know, look better. It's like, well, how's that going to help the future German, whatever, to, you know, plan for war and so on and so forth. I thought that was quite interesting. So let's go to this, you know, quickly go to the scans, and then I'm going to have to snag your ATA there, William Aarons, and we'll go from there. Yep. All right. Hold on here. I'm going to bring it into display the width. Okay. Present. Share the screen. There we go. Yep. There we go. So this was just trying when I was reading up on it, and it was just here, this little bit, and he says, but at the tactical level, it was the Battle of the Marne that confirmed the incipient operational collapse. And I guess just the way he was saying, the way the German mindset was going in, it was very operational in their focus. They honestly believed that if they went about an operation, went about it operationally properly, they would win the war. This is the way to win the war. So they were not looking at it from other aspects. And once that wasn't an option anymore, and that's when I was like, wait a minute, that's when Falkenhayn, even so early on, remember right after here, what was it, the Battle of the Innocents there, the loss of the Innocents, when they brought in all those reserve troops and they shouldn't have brought them in. They were not even close to being trained there. Afterwards, he said, I think, to the Kaiser and whatnot, it's over. Like we should be suing for peace here, or trying to come up with some kind of settled agreement. We're not going to win based on the way we're doing. It's interesting yet again, because you're saying, you know, oh, Falkenhayn wasn't the smartest little cookie, and it's like, well, he kind of clued in. Anyways, this book, which provides translations, blah, 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 in a sense, the German army, once it had been defeated on the Marne, had already lost the war. 4 more years of fighting may have been required in order to confirm that outcome, but the Battle of the Marne meant that Germany had not won the war in short order. Because it lacked the resources to win a long war, it could not, according to mathematical logic, win at all. But this was not an interpretation, goes on and on and on, which the German didn't want to do. And did I put another little box in here? I hope I did. Yep. Mark Humphreys, John, the opening weeks of the First World War marked the moment when Napoleonic visions of war, of maneuver resulting in decisive battle, the goal of so much staff college training and of so many planning expectations, crashed to the ground. Conceived on a scale unparalleled in the history of war and sustained by armies too big to be themselves sustained, those hopes and intentions collapsed under their own logistical weight. Truly, mass armies would not maneuver as easily in practice as in theory. And that yet again goes, I think, possibly with the Schlieffen plan. And when I've been reading also as well, the guy it's from that issue number 3 of World War I Illustrated, and it's from Dana Lombardi, the author actually, who says we got to stop calling it the Schlieffen plan. It's the Moltke, the younger plan. This is not the Schlieffen plan. And I was like, interesting. So there we go. And yet again, also, I think he was saying at one point, I was in that article, saying that or it could have been a video I was watching, it doesn't really matter. But by early September, like, for example, the German First Armies, their front was 112 kilometers away from their railheads. And they were already having logistical and supply issues due to that. And I was like, 112 kilometers, eh? Der Weltkrieg, eh? That's less than 6 hexes. And yet he wants to have this indefinite line of communication. I was like, no, you don't. Not in my world. Anyway, so that's it. Here's yet again, we're going to just very quickly, I didn't realize, I'm just going to pop on over here for the Schlieffen plan. So you guys, and this is a scan from the issue 3 of World War One Illustrated, and this is from Dale Lombardi's thing. But I wanted you guys to take a quickie look just to show, and it's also from here from the Schlieffen plan of Alfred von Schlieffen saying, if you're going to go do it this way, you've got to stop at certain points and wait for your guys to catch up, which is which Moltke didn't do. As we know, later on, you hear about exhausted German troops going ridiculous distances and so on and so forth. And it was hot and, on and on and on. And then you've got the freaking Belgians and French destroying all the rail as they're retreating. Of course, they're not stupid, that type of stuff. So you're screwed. So there we go. Okay, I'm going to stop the screen because okay, let me go and grab your ATA, William Aarons. Otherwise, we will forget. And there's 4 trillion things I could talk about. And we're not going to do that because I'm going to go and grab your thing. Hold on here. All right, let me grab it. And then, like I said, we're just going to pop this straight up into the notepad thing because I don't have time to start formatting. And then we'll do the week as well. How are we going to do this? We'll do the week first because, like I said, it's kind of like a little too close to the after hours war summary thing, and then we'll go from there. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, hold on here. Let me go and oh yeah, it's still here. It's still here. I did kind of very quick Meandering. Mike says Sam can sing a song. Well, waiting. Well done. I'm going to also show you very quickly the game, and then I'll get something going here. It's that pursuit game, which I thought was, like I said, it's interesting. We'll read a little bit about how it works. But somebody put in the images of all the rules. I was like, well done, because 99% of all the forum questions are, does anybody have the rules? Does anybody have the rules? I got the game, but I found the game at a garage sale, but I don't have the rules kind of thing. I was like, oh my gosh. So hold on here. Yeah, so there we go. I'll get rid of me. Hold on here. So it's not really, I wouldn't really say it's like the guy says here, but I wanted to show you it's pretty neat looking. It's almost like, you know what I mean, this glass thing. I'm not going to try to expand the pictures. I tried at the same size. It drives me up the tree when that happens. But it was like, what's going on here? And like I said there, if you are, all the rules are there, man. It was like I read them out. So I was like, cool. So let's go to the pursuit thing. And I want to just very quickly go to, is it memories of? Nope. It wasn't that one. Is it this guy? Nope. Hold on. We'll find him. Is it him? Yes, it's basically here. It says players start on opposite sides of the board and alternatively reveal their plane's heading. Move if possible, capture if possible, then hide their plane and pick a new direction. Movement is limited by the direction chosen. 1 space max up, 2 space max horizontally, 3 spaces max down. Captures consist of moving onto the square containing an opponent's plane. But there's also something about dogfighting and whatnot. But anyways, he says here, in the end, it's a bit of checkers with a dash of ploy. I don't know what ploy is, but not really engaging for an ad. Oh, yes. On a side note, if anybody knows, because I don't, what the heck is a trunk railway? I've been reading about this every 5 seconds in the headlines when I do my stuff. They're like, oh, the Grand Trunk Railway is open, or the Grand Trunk. I have no idea what a trunk railway. So if somebody knows what a trunk railway is, I'd love to know. So there we go. I'm going to pop in I'm going to make sure I've got my the week here. Oh, one more thing, so we can game-related thing, please, and then we'll go off to it. We still got a good 20 minutes, and because I want you guys to help me out with this quandary, I guess if you want to call it. Here, hold on here. Is this so? You guys can see it. Good. So it's like I said, I'm reading about artillery. It's section 29.9 here over here. It says artillery units do not pay the additional movement point to enter an enemy zone of control if the friendly infantry unit already occupies the hex. Now, I don't know if you guys know, but I'm going to tell you. In Der Weltkrieg, if you enter an enemy zone of control, you have to pay 1 extra movement point. And when you leave an enemy zone of control, you have to pay 1 movement point. So this guy doesn't say leave, it's just enter. So at first I thought it was leave and enter. And I thought, oh, maybe he's trying to model the fact that the big artillery are not right up at the front, because we are talking a 20-kilometer, hex here. And so it's deep, it's dense. And I went, okay, maybe that's what it is. But then I went, well, if that's the case, why do I still have to pay the extra movement point to leave an enemy zone of control? So if anybody can figure out that, I would love to know why. Tolemykus says 1914, the car was fully amalgamated into the Grand Trunk Pacific Railway. Okay, this company was incorporated in thank you very much. Thanks, man. Because I didn't understand. Proposal for a second transcontinental line following a route much to the north. Yes. Oh my God, Tolemykus, man. Well done. Because you're getting you're popping in all these little holes for me, because I've been reading the headlines and whatnot. I don't go really into the articles much, but I'm like, what's going on? And they have been talking about something about extending it from Detroit or something. Or thank you. So, anyways, if you guys can figure that out for me, why you don't have to pay the extra to get into, but I don't have to pay, but I do have to pay the extra to get out. I was like, I just don't understand that. All right, so let's go to the week. Boink, there we are. Oops, hold on here. And it's been a dandy week, as I told you. So this is the week that was for August 25th to the 31st, 1916. The 25th of August, determined German attacks south of Thiepval repulsed. Germans active in the BERTHA region. Violent German attack repulsed west of Tahur in the Champagne region. Oh my God, I hope someday we get to talk a lot about the aftermath, especially Harold Bosman, when you were mentioning that you had just finished listening to that podcast and your takeaways. Brian R. Smith says the use of the term trunk denotes a main line. Thank you. Typically between cities, originated. Okay, because all this time I was thinking, is it something to do with the rail bot? Like, is it because it's enclosed? I didn't understand what it meant. Oh, cool. Thank you so much. Originated from the early development of the phone system with the main line called a trunk. Okay, the trunk, like a tree. Okay, not trunk like a suitcase. Thank you. Zeppelin raid on east and southeast coast and London. British warships bomb the forts of Kavala. Ceres occupied by the Bulgars. Correspondence between the British and the Swedish governments about the detention of mail packets by either government is published. Remember that in the headlines? They were like a little bit of a tit for tat. Swedish were like, fine, and we'll just hold on to your stuff going to Russia. And I was like, oh my God. I think you mentioned this before, Corvinus Wargaming, a few weeks ago. You were like, good for Sweden. I'm like, yeah, they are a little bit of a like, they've got some they got some backbone. August 26th, British enter Morogoro. Activity on the left flank of the Salonika front. Serbs beat off Bulgar counterattacks northwest of Kukurs and progress in the Ostrovo region. General Moschopoulos appointed chief of Greek general staff in place of General Dusmanis. And I think General Moschopoulos is a Venezuelist. So the king had to start eating a bit of crow here. Russians make slight advance towards Helice. British take a short length of German trench north of Bazentin-le-Petit. Corvinus Wargaming says, would have been senseless for Sweden to enter the war. Cool. I don't. Interesting. Charles Latour says, in 2 weeks, Zeppelin Raider from Compass will start shipping. Woo! Because it looked darn nice, man. And remember, they do. I think it's got L-59. I think that's the one that goes to Germany, goes to Africa to try to help Leto Vorbeck. That would be interesting. Wondering if it could ever get to Cameroon from Bulgaria, or what? I think that's what it ended up doing. They were able to once Bulgaria entered the war, they were able to go from there. I think. It'd be interesting to know if they could make it all the way to, of course, with air currents and whatnot. Because I was wondering maybe you could help out the poor bastards in Cameroon. That would be interesting. German attack in front of Fleury repulsed. Oh yeah, and I wish. Well, we will eventually at some point talk a bit more about the Cameroon campaign because it's really neat. Now I'm starting to clue into why the British and the French had a hard time at the very beginning. It wasn't just because they were cocky in the sense of like, wow, we took Togo land so quick, we can do that too with Cameroon. Not necessarily. It wasn't exactly that. They just didn't clue into what the German strategy was at the very beginning. It was never to keep Douala, the port city and whatnot. They were always thinking about going, concentrating up in the interior of Cameroon. Their main goal was not actually to try to draw the Allied forces and to keep them away from Europe as long as possible. No, supposedly it was to retain as much territory in Cameroon as possible, so that way when there's the potential of a settled peace and whatnot, they could use that as a bargaining chip to keep their colonies. I thought that was kind of neat. So it was like, anyways, German ground gained by Serbs near Vetrenik, Salonika in a general offensive. British captured large artillery dump and occupied Magita. Oh, I better hurry up, man, because we've got to get to your thing. Romania mobilizes and declares war on Austria-Hungary. Greek protest meeting in Athens on King Constantine's policy, and that's part of, I think, why the other guy up here is starting to read the tea leaves. August 28th, Germany declares war on Romania. Italy declares war on Germany. Encounters take place south of Erzurum. General Maude succeeds General Lake as commander-in-chief in Mesopotamia. Serbians progress east of the Cherna River. Romanians and Austrians in contact in the passes of the Transylvanian Alps. Austrians withdraw north of Kronstadt. Austrian monitors bombard the Russian-Romanian towns on the Danube. William Aaron says, I guess that the British entered Morogoro at the end of August 1916 would be a good reason for that there are no more issues of the German. Oh, well, I'm not going to. Oh, okay, I get you. Well done. Yeah, I get you. Available after August 1916. Now I understand where you were saying I can't get it anymore. Yeah. French gained ground in southeast of Thiamont-Work and repulsed German attacks against Fleury and against the position near Fort Vaux. August 29th, British capture of German prisoners since the beginning of British offensive. July 1st, 266 officers, 15,203 men, 86 guns, and 160 machine guns. Russians captured Mount Pantir, northwest of the Jablonica Pass in the Carpathians. Oh, you're going to see it's really cool later on. I don't know if it's in here, but it's in the summary. You realize, holy F, yeah, we are talking the Carpathians compared to that. It's like, oh, they took Hill 1,125, not like Hill 102, that type of stuff. I was like, whoa. Kronstadt, Petrosny, and just leave it, Chris, occupied by Romanians. General Northey occupies Aringa. Hindenburg appointed chief of German staff in place of Erich von Falkenhayn, with Ludendorff as chief quartermaster general. August 30th, Bavarians surrender south of Martinpuich. Albania occupied by Italians. Venezuelist revolution at Salonika. Germans retire from Morogoro over the Ruru River. Turkey declares war on Romania. August 31st, Canadian casualties to date, 8,644 killed, 27,212 wounded, and 2,005 missing. British cars raid and capture Senussi convoy 20 miles northwest of Jagbub near Tripoli. The other Tripoli. Air raid of bridges at Buk northeast of Drama, Macedonia, and Libya. Fight at Hlies and east of Lemberg with many prisoners taken in the Lutz area by Russians. British gas attack at Ra and Armentières. That should be an I in there, I do believe. Heavy German attacks between Ginchy and Bois-Forot. And that's that. Excellent. So I can get rid of you. And we can get rid of you. And then we can go to, I want to show a couple of pictures quick, William Aaron's, but I swear to God, we're going to go to your thing. It's just I wanted to, yet again, I'm going to try to do this for next week with the war summary and clue it in. I've got Monday off, so I was hoping I'm going to spend most a good chunk of Monday screwing around with StreamYard. I really, really want to have for the after hours war summary, like I said, the text on one side and pictures rotating from when we go, like talking about Montfalcon or whatever. Boom, there we go. Hold on here. Let me go to, I got to find her up. So Sam can sing. Is that it? Are you telling me he's a singer, Meandering Mike? Interesting. Oh, I did want to show you the books too. Like I said, that was another thing I wanted to, I'm going to stop the screen, present the screen. Don't you swear, I swear to God, William Aarons, we will get to your thing. So this is, yeah, like I said, I wanted to show the book that are mentioned in World War I Illustrated, and I'll try to pop these in the whatevers. That's the book on the left I would die to get. Planning Armageddon, British Economic Warfare in the First World War. Oh my F, do I want that book bad. B-A-D, bad. So that one there. And many mentions have no idea, I'm just making stuff up. Ring of Steel. I think, well, there's Alexander Watson, Speak of the Devil. And Clark Commando 1983 has that book, I know for a fact. Mad Catastrophe and Outbreak of World War I and the Collapse of the Habsburg Empire. So those are the ones that he mentions. Hold on here. I want to make sure that I go also show you, not the Lloyd's George, not the Cameroon. Darn it, I don't have it here anymore. Oh, well, we will show this. I think it was a bit about, I'm not sure if it was you, Brian R. Smith, that had mentioned this, but this knocked me on my, so this is from that book, the secondary sources there, the Western Front, Part 1. Hissy says, did you vote on my poll in my community tab? It's about, no, I did not. So thank you very much for mentioning it. I'm very narrow focused, Hissy Cat. I need people to remind me that there's a bigger world out there. So I'm going to pump this up. No, I'm terrible. I'm really bad. So here it is. And this knocked me on my butt when I read this. I went, whoa. So this is Lloyd George in, well, you can see 1908 talking about Germany. Here we see Germany at the center of Europe with France and Russia at its borders, possessing armies bigger than its own. I should like to remind our friends who think that because Germany is afraid of us, it must be actually be plotting against us, that it is afraid for reasons which under the same circumstances would fill us with fear also. I went, whoa. Tolemykus, there's a bigger one. I know. I don't want to know about it. I don't. I really don't. So there we go. Yeah, like I think I've mentioned before, I'd rather stay here for the remainder of my life in this little Great War bubble of mine. Oh, that's for sure. Here we go. So we're off to your stuff. Yes, William Aarons, we're here. And hopefully you guys can see that nice and big. I'm going to hide this. Translator's note. That was pretty darn good. Translator note. Here are notices from the last 2 available issues of German East Africa News before the British get there, I guess. Thank you, William Aarons. The first are 3 information notices from the 15th of August, 1916. A special, and yet again, this is this same thing with the wedding ring stuff. It's just so cool that we're getting this really intimate stuff, man. A special announcement. The birth of a girl on the 6th of August, 1916 in Morogoro is announced by Captain Carl William and Frau Marguerite Willman, birth name Wilhelmi or something. Corvinus Wargaming says, Waro is a little overcritical of Austria-Hungary, veering into excessive bias, in my opinion. Neat. Thank you for letting me know that. For the information of the public, the offices of the German East Africa line will be closed from this date. Living quarters. A 4-room furnished house in Dar es Salaam is presently available to rent. Oh my gosh. It is located nearby the offices of the DOA News. All right. Translator note. The next dispatch is from the issue from the 18th of August, 1916. A front page notice on the maritime situation of British shipping. And oh, damn it. I want to show you the critical pass video. It's only 45 seconds or something. We could do it. Or a minute. Of the maritime situation of British shipping in the air war over England, because it's really cool. Official notices, and I just get tickled pink that we're allowed to do this. You know what I mean? Like I feel like, woo, we get to show some real history stuff. The press service, anyone, an Indian native who has boarded a British ship to and from India, has been informed by the harbor authorities not to disembark on the land of England because it is obviously feared that the Indians could arrive at a clear understanding of the European situation than those in Europe have. The English blockade administration is prepared to put forth an expansion of the blacklist on businesses from neutral nations, as it already has for firms associated with the enemy. The French have expressed admiration for how the English seem to have control over all unknown conditions and how the English conceal their goals and advancement of their interests from the observation of others. Press Service London. Reuters reported that a number of airships crossed over the east and southeast coast of England before midnight and dropped their bombs near the mouth of the Thames. The report stated that the air attacks occurred with considerable numbers, has been publicly acknowledged over Lincolnshire, Norfolk, Cambridge, Essex, Kent, Huntingdon, and let their bombs fall on their targets, only failing to do so in a few cases. Thank you, William Aarons. I can stop the screen quickly. We can now go to that YouTube thingamajig. And yet again, thank you so much, man. I hope to God we can figure out how to get some more the African news, man. You're probably right. Well, that's the end of it. But darn it, it was really, that was nice. Hold on here. Like I said, we'll go to wow, and then it'll go straight to the after hours. That makes sense. So hold on here. I'll go to the thing, my playlist. I'm just going to get rid of you, and it's under my. And it's called Critical Past. There we go. And I'll start presenting it. And you can see I've already got 3 here, but we're going to look at the Deutschland Lusitania one. And like I mentioned before, it's silent. Wait until you see the Italian works. We'll do that one next week. That is just freaky weird to see them working on huge artillery pieces. It's just like, you want to talk workplace hazards or whatever, occupation safety. It was like, oh my God, somebody would have a field day with that. So yeah, it's gonna, well, get rid of me. Hold on here so you can see a bit more there. I just wanted you guys to see it. Like, like I said, it's I don't know who they're shooting at, but oh yeah, that was so cool to see this submarine in water. Almost reminded me of I was like, is this real? And it really is. Can you see the sub? I know it's terrible, terrible. Oh my God, this is that famous, do you remember, I don't know if you guys know about this. This is that, I don't remember the name of the ship, but that famous sinking here. And you see those poor bastards trying to stay on the craft there. Good God. That is just, oh. Just wild stuff. I think those are survivors of the Lusitania, if I do believe. Not knowing what the hell's going on. Oh my! Oh, stop that! I'm gonna let you see. We'll watch that. We'll watch that next week. But I will. Hold on here. I'm just going to. No, I'll do this. This makes much more sense. All right. I wanted to. Yeah, we've only got about 1 minute. Yet again, boy, did that go quick. I was like, what the hell just happened here? Thank you again, William Aarons, for doing what you do, man. It's been amazing. It's been a joy and a half. as well as everybody else contributing all your stuff. And like I said, Harold Bosma, oh my God, you weren't here when I mentioned that. Paul Hederer has your questions. He replied and said, boy, they're awfully pretty specific game-related questions. Perhaps I should fire up Vassal. And so we're going to go about there. We haven't figured out when it's going to happen, but we'll go from there. And that's that. Thanks again. I hope you guys have a great remainder of your weekend. Like I said, I've got I guess lots of people have long weekends this weekend, which is going to be awesome. And hopefully, like I said, I can spend a good chunk on Monday working on StreamYard and starting to figure out how I can make the layout proper so I can have some. Really want to have maps with some of this stuff. It's not funny. Well, nice is I picked up some interesting books in World War I from the used book selection of antique stores in St. Jacobs, Ontario. There's a lot of interesting maps and pictures, some of which I will send you. Thank you. Because if we can use them, that would be flipping awesome. Meandering makes us a need to go get rest more. Take care. Good luck, man. Yes, rest well. I hope to God you're in better spirits. Okay, I'm going to go and about to hit my little thingamabob. And that'll be that. Have a great time, guys, and I'll see you on the chat thing. Hold on here. I'm going to go back to this. Yes, great to see you again, Harold Bosma. Hold on here. I'm going to go to my playlists. Get rid of this. And it's the after hours, which is pretty close. Where are you? There we go. All right. And hopefully, we'll find out. I'm going to turn off my microphone now. See you later. For August 25th and here we go for the war summary for August 25th to August 31st, 1916. And I'm going to say this, my gosh, I can't wait until we get to the Romania section. It's amazing. Like I've said before, I'm amazed at how candid they are about Romania's intentions. Anyways, here we go. And I have not done it yet, but I'm hopeful I will get to this point where I can put some images on the split thing. But yet again, I just didn't spend enough time doing it. Anyways, here we go. August 25th. A new French push is in active progress from Estrée to Lassagne, a 30-mile extension of the southern extremity of the French offensive. Heavy fighting south of Estrée has been going on since Wednesday, and the Germans succeeded in retaking some positions captured last week. Fighting has now been extended southward from Estrée through Soicourt, Vermandovier, Chong, and Roy. Along these 30 miles, the French are bombarding the enemy's lines with heavy guns, according to the war correspondent of La Liberté. The new offensive, if successful, will bring the French right onto the road running north to Péronne and advance the French lines in the direction of La Fère. The French fire proved so destructive that, contrary to custom, the Germans sent their aerial scouts across the French lines to try and locate the batteries. Captive balloons and airplanes from the enemy lines were forced to retire. On the Somme front, the artillery has been in action continuously for 36 hours along the entire line. The Allied bombardment attained an extraordinary degree of intensity, and some of the enemy batteries were silenced. The Battle of the Somme resulted yesterday in further Allied gains north of the river. At midnight, official report from Paris announces the capture by French troops of the remaining portion of the Maurepas village, which was held by the enemy. With one magnificent dash, the French troops cleared the village and followed up their success by sweeping into the enemy trenches 200 yards beyond the village, along a front of about 1¼ miles, extending from the railroad north of Maurepas to Ridge 121 to the southeast. 200 prisoners and 10 machine guns were taken in this offensive, which began at 5 o'clock yesterday afternoon. The occupation of Maurepas, which was very strongly fortified, is a most important gain and will prove of material value to the British in their fight around Guillemont. The light railway north of Maurepas, on which the French line now rests, runs between Combles and Cléry and skirts to the westward side of the hill now occupied by the French. Working in close cooperation with the British on their left, the French carried the village in trenches at the bayonet's point and attained definite objectives they had in view. This latest advance on the Morta-Clery ridge east of the railway strengthens considerably the French advance on Péronne from the northwest. In the Verdun area between Thiaumont and Fleury, the Germans made repeated attacks with bombing parties on the French positions, but they were all broken up by a withering fire from the French guns. East of Fleury, the French advanced slightly. In the fighting, 300 German prisoners were rounded up. Oops, where am I now? South of Thiepval, yesterday afternoon, the British advanced 300 yards, taking a German trench 400 yards in length. A number of prisoners were taken. North of Bazentin, last night, German bombing attacks were repulsed. The enemy shelled the entire British front during the day. The British have strengthened their position greatly by the occupation of Pozières Ridge, which now commands a large extent of country to the east. The advance south of Thiepval yesterday strengthens the British line in this sector and gives the artillery commanding positions on both sides of the Albert-Bapaume road. West of Lake Van in Asia Minor, the Russians reoccupied Mouche, which was retaken by the Turks on the 8th of August, and which lies about midway between Erzurum and Bitlis. In these operations, the Grand Duke's troops captured 2,300 Turks. In a short time, Bitlis also will be retaken by the Russians. Farther south in the direction of Mosul, which is on the railway, 220 miles north of Baghdad, a Russian column is successfully fighting its way against the Turks and Arabs. In the battle fought in the region of Rakta, portions of a Turkish division were surrounded and captured. The whole of the 11th Turkish Regiment, including its commander, 56 officers and 1,600 men, was captured, as well as the remnants of the 10th Turkish Regiment, consisting of 2 staff officers, several junior officers, and 650 askari. The German guns and 3 machine guns completed the Russian bag in this region. The Italian offensive is being pressed in the Dolomites along the northerly portion of the Austro-Italian front. New positions were taken in the mountainous region of the Fosse Alps. At the head of the Possonirka Valley, height 2,354, south of Cima del di Secce, changed and rechanged hands, remaining in the occupation of the Italians. At the head of the Sia Valley, along the slopes of Monte Coriol and Cima di Cupola, Italian Alpine troops carried the Austrian trenches. Artillery and aircraft were active in other sectors of this theater of war. Greeks are fighting Bulgars at Ceres, while at Demir Hisar, the Bulgars occupied the town and took the Greek garrison prisoners. At Ceres, the Greek troops defending the place refused to retire when ordered by their staff officers. Volunteers are joining their ranks. As the Greek government connived at the invasion by Bulgarian troops, the situation is critical for the king, who has so defiantly set aside the declared will of the Greek people at the previous elections. Bulgar dispatches prepared with an eye to Romania follow the German example elsewhere of magnifying minor results. The Bulgarian official statement says Bulgar troops hold Engista station and the railway through Oxalar Drama, Engista, Ceres, and Demir Hisar. A deputy who fled from Florina on the approach of the Bulgars attributes the advance of their right in the Monastir region to the absence of opposition. Berlin grows more confident in tone regarding the continued neutrality of Romania. Hold on. At Saint-Mihiel salient, south of Verdun, the Germans began a new offensive against the French line. The attack was made against the tip of the salient, and the enemy rushed some of the trenches in the first fierce assault. The French succeeded, however, in driving out their assailants, according to an official report from Paris. On the Somme front during Friday, the French guns shelled the German organizations. The enemy also succeeded in penetrating the French trenches at Ailly Wood, but was immediately ejected when the French counterattacked. On the rest of the French line, there is nothing new to record. In the fighting on Thursday, 1,600 Germans were captured. West of Ginchy, between Longueval and Guillemont, the Germans advanced to attack British lines, but were dispersed by machine gun fire. The enemy kept up a heavy artillery bombardment during Thursday night and all day Friday. German guns also bombarded the positions taken by the British near Deville Wood on Thursday night. Heavy guns were active on both sides at various points along the line. In the advance of several hundred yards from Deville Wood, the British linked up on up their right with the French near Maurepas. On the eastern and northern edges of the wood, there was fierce fighting as the British pushed forward positions on each side of the Longueval-Flers road. Yesterday, 8 officers and 179 men were taken prisoner by the British. The Asiatic campaign is once again in full blast. After a couple of weeks of rest and reorganization, the Grand Duke has again cast his net over a wide area. The Russian troops are now advancing along the whole front, and the Turks are again on the move, fighting and retreating. After the capture of Mosul, advanced squadrons of Cossack cavalry made a dash for Bitlis, which was speedily evacuated by the Turks, who are being pursued. In the Eastern Theater, Petrograd reports the situation is unchanged. During Friday, Hindenburg and Linsingen launched a series of attacks, which the Germans claim were successful, but the Russian official statement says they were all repulsed by curtain fire. Southeast of Kabul, where heavy fighting continues, the Germans claim to have retaken trenches that were lost to the Russians on Monday. In the Balkans, desultory fighting continues. I'm going to have to look up that word. East of Lake Tahinos, 50 miles northeast of Salonika, British cavalry crossed the Angista River and blew up several bridges in the direction of Drama in the face of a heavy fire. The Greeks are deeply stirred by the Bulgarian advance on Kaela, which is dictated by political rather than military considerations. On the eve of the Greek elections, this Bulgarian advance on the coveted Kavalis simply plays into the hands of Venizelos and is likely to endanger King Constantine's throne. It is this territory which Bulgaria has long coveted and which King Ferdinand swore to reconquer after the Second Balkan War. Kavala is a walled town and seaport on the Bay of Kavala. It is still supplied with water through an aqueduct erected by the Romans. It is believed to be the Neapolis of St. Paul's days, in which he landed on the way to Philippi. Wow, that's all stuff I don't know anything about. In the Struma region, vigorous actions took place between advanced bodies of the opposing armies, and skirmishing occurred on the Betis Mountains. Towards Lake Doran, on the right of the Vardar, vigorous artillery duels are in progress. In the neighborhood of the Juminka, the French troops are consolidating their gains. On the left, the Serbs are progressing in the Kukuruz zone. Northeast of Lake Ostrovo, violent Bulgarian counterattacks have been repulsed by the Serbians, who took several hundred prisoners. The Zeppelin raids in England accounted for the death of 8 people, including 5 women and children. Of the 21 wounded, 5 were women and children. The German report says very good results were observed. One observer says that the airship that reached the outskirts of London was a Super Zeppelin, one of the new and powerful fleet on which the Kaiser is now counting to terrify the British people. The presence of the monster near London brought the people out of their houses to watch the bombardment of the airship by the anti-aircraft guns. The official British statement says 40 bombs were dropped on the outskirts of London. 5 or 6 airships were engaged in the raid. In German East Africa, the British forces occupied Colossa, 200 miles east of the port of Dar es Salaam on the Indian Ocean. A feint attack was made on Mikata, 20 miles east, with the object of weakening the defense of Colossa. Fighting continued for a day and night when the enemy retired to the southeast. General Smuts is now getting a firm grip on the military hub of the German colony. Bad weather in the Dolomites is hindering Italian operations, but some progress is reported from Rome. There is no change in the situation in the Gorizia district or in the Carso Plateau. General Cadorna is now within 14 miles of Trieste. The progress is slow in the mountainous country as the Austrians have strongly fortified positions and are holding on with grim tenacity. Southwest of Gorizia, the Italians have taken the Austrian second-line trenches and at some places have penetrated to the third enemy line. For several days past, the roar of the big guns has been continuous. Malfalcone has been shelled repeatedly. Near the city, a big transatlantic liner in course of building and 3 torpedo boats, also on the stocks, were blown to pieces by the shells. Italy and Germany are now formally at war. One of the anomalies of the European situation ended when Italy yesterday formally declared war on her old ally. The declaration dates from today. The Swiss government was employed by the government at Rome as the medium through which the declaration was formally conveyed. The landing of Italian troops in the Balkans rendered this course inevitable. For over a year after the outbreak of war, Italy maintained a strict neutrality, sedulously wooed on behalf of Germany by that astute diplomat Count von Bülow. In February last, Italy seized 34 German vessels interned in Italian ports, but it was not till the opening of the Balkan campaign that an open declaration of war against Germany was decided on at Rome. Rome is en fête. As a result of the announcement, great enthusiasm prevails in the Italian capital. The news is bound to have a profound effect upon the public opinion in Romania. The official declaration of war also will permit of the transfer of Italian troops to any of the theaters of war in which the German troops are engaged. It is rumored in Rome that Romania will come into the fight immediately. About half the Romanian nation live outside Romanian territory. This is the great stimulus to the Romanian war spirit, the dream of a greater Romania. About 1 million Romanians live in Bessarabia, 250,000 in Bukovina, 3.5 million in Hungary, and about 1 million are scattered over Serbia, Bulgaria, and Macedonia, in close proximity, in most cases, to the Romanian frontiers. Italians pushed ahead in the Carnic Alps on Saturday, extending their positions on Città Vallone. An official report says there is a lull in the fighting in the Isonzo region. Enemy guns shelled the Isonzo bridges and the Vallone positions and dropped a few shells on Gorizia. The British gained ground northwest of Ginchy and on Saturday night, penetrating still farther the center of the enemy's defenses that guard the roads to Bapaume. Bad weather has interfered with British military operations along this front. Both sides indulged in heavy artillery bombardments on Saturday, the Germans directing their fire mainly to the British trenches and especially towards the line north of Longueval, where the British are closing in on Flers, where the road to Bapaume parallels the main Albert-Bapaume road. Some of the enemy's bomb stores were blown up by the British fire. Between Neuve-Chapelle and Amantier, the British exploded some mines. The enemy southwest of Anchy and south of Ypres salient exploded 2 small mines. In neither instance were casualties reported. South of the Ancre, on Saturday night and Sunday morning, 4 German officers and 55 men were captured. North of Bazentin, the British advanced, occupying a further 200 yards of enemy trenches and capturing a machine gun. Between the Somme and the Ancre, the German guns were busy during the night. The enemy also shelled the British positions in the vicinity of Bethune, north of Arras, during Saturday night, and the British heavy guns replied by bombarding the railway stations and barracks of the enemy. Near Hill 60, the enemy exploded a mine, but no damage was caused. Along the French front in the Somme region, bad weather still prevails. Latest reports state that Saturday night, the military situation was comparatively calm. On the right of the Meuse, in the Verdun zone, the enemy launched 3 successive attacks during Saturday night against the French positions in the Beau-Chapitre woods. The assaults were repelled by the French fire, the enemy suffering heavy losses and being forced to seek shelter in their trenches. In Lorraine, the Germans attempted to surprise small posts held by the French between Haraucourt and Ambert-Menil, but were repulsed. During Saturday night, French bombing parties dispersed the enemy patrols after a brisk fight in the Apremont forest. In the direction of Croix-Saint-Jean, the enemy advanced against the French positions over a front of about 900 yards, but they were checked by the French barrier fire and forced to retire. In the eastern theater on the Stockade near the village of Tobol, the enemy shelled the Russian crossings. The Austrian official report says the fighting on this front was confined to local engagements in advanced positions. According to the Russian report, the enemy was driven out of his position on Hill. Holy smokes, they talk about the difference because listen to the amount of hills. We're in the mountains here. On his position on Hill 1,129, 3 miles northeast of Kovorla Mountain in the Carpathians. The Russians carried the hill, taking prisoner 3 officers and 175 men and capturing 4 machine guns. The Russian advance in this region continues. Varna was bombed by Russian seaplanes on Friday last. Varna is the Bulgarian port on the Black Sea. 1 ship in harbor and the port works were observed to be on fire as a result of the bombing. If Russia takes a more vigorous hand in the Balkan campaign, it may be the invasion of Bulgaria through Varna. At present, however, the risk of submarines may be too great. Were Romania to join the allies, there would be no necessity for Russia to contemplate a forced entry into Bulgaria by the Varna port. A Berlin official report states that a Russian naval squadron was observed off Varna and was bombed by German airships. In 1854, Varna was used as a base of operation by the British and French in the Crimean campaign against the Russians. Totally cool. The occupation of Kavala by the Bulgars is unofficially reported from Sofia in an exchange telegram. An earlier dispatch from Paris stated that the British monitors and cruisers were assisting in the defense of Kavala. On the Allied left, the Serbs are engaged in a desperate battle with the Bulgars. The Serbs repulsed the enemy 6 times along their whole line. On the Struma, French artillery continued to shell the Bulgar organizations. A Bulgarian battalion was caught by the French fire. Desperate fighting continues around Lake Ostrovo, where violent counterattacks by the Bulgars have been in progress against the Serbs, who have repulsed all assaults and driven back the enemy. The German report claims advances against the Allies and the capture of a British detachment in the village of Dolgel, I think. The Berlin report also states that the Bulgar left wing advanced from Karnardag and occupied the Aegean coast. The situation in the Balkans is somewhat obscure, both sides claiming successes, but it is apparent that the Bulgars, too weak to challenge a decisive battle, are striking at General Saray's flanks. Saray's main push, it is reported, will be along the Vardar Valley, the objective being the cutting of the railway to Niš. The Bulgar aggressive move on Greek territory has at length aroused both king and people. The king, it is reported, has dismissed the chief of staff, General Dusranis, and his chief assistant, who are opposed to intervention on behalf of the Allies, and in their stead has appointed friends of the Venisilists. The new chief of staff, General Moschopoulos, is a close friend of ex-premier Venisilos and is in close touch with the Allied commanders. There is great rejoicing in Athens at the prospect of a vigorous Greek resistance to the Bulgar invaders. Hold on again. And here we go with the Romanian thing. I'm just blown. These 2 paragraphs, well, it's a page and a half. It's just like, whoa. The entry of Romania into the conflict on the side of the Allies so that she may satisfy her national aspirations will materially shorten the war. There is no pretense in Bucharest or anywhere else that Romania is fighting for freedom or the rights of the little peoples or the curbing of militarism. She is in the war for the spoils. Had there been the remotest doubt as to the power of the Allies to bring the struggle to a successful end, she would have maintained her attitude of not too benevolent neutrality. For this, the statesman of Romania can hardly be blamed. They saw mighty Russia a year ago reel under the hammer strokes of the Teutons and withdraw her armies far within her own borders. The 500,000 men Romania can place in the field for active service would then have counted little. Left to defend herself with entirely inadequate stores of ammunition and an insufficient equipment of heavy guns, Romania, had she entered the war, would have been overrun as Serbia and Montenegro were while Russia was engaged in reorganizing her armies and providing war material. Oh my God, is he ever foreshadowing what's about to happen? Bratianu, the Romanian premier, and yeah, what I've read from him, this guy has basically been calling the shots for a long time, is a cold, calculating politician whose one great passion is a greater Romania that shall include not only the 3 million or more people of the Latin race in Transylvania, but the million in Bessarabia, which was ceded to Russia in 1878. He was probably secured from he has probably secured from Russia a promise that the fertile wheatlands of that province shall be restored if the Romanian army is employed in breaking the link between Berlin and Constantinople, and so bringing about the collapse of Turkey. The Orient Railway, which runs across Serbia and Bulgaria, is the spinal cord of the Turkish Empire. By severing it, Turkey and Bulgaria can be paralyzed. Without the constant stream of military supplies passing over that railway, the resistance of Turkey to the assaults of the Grand Duke Nicholas must collapse within a few weeks, for there has been no opportunity to pile up stores in Turkish territory for a long campaign. It may be expected, therefore, that while the Romanians will at once set about the invasion of Transylvania, They will also strike from their extreme westerly boundary near the iron gates of the Danube across Bulgaria and Serbia towards the Orient Railway. Nope, they're not going to do that. In this part of the Romanian campaign, the Slavs are almost certain to take part. Already a Russian army has been assembled in Bessarabia, which it is believed is destined for the Balkans. If the Romanians and Russians from the north can join hands before November, with the Franco-British army advancing up the Vardar Valley, the Turk and the Bulgar will be eliminated from the fighting forces of the Central Powers, and a great step will have been taken by the Allies towards a victorious peace. And I'm also going to say this as we get into the next bit about Romania. I just found out that France and I think it's France and Russia signed a pact with Romania, saying, yeah, we'll give you Bessarabia and all these things. But they supposedly France and Russia have a ultra secret pact saying, no, we're not doing that. This is crazy, man. Romania is not fighting for the Allies or for peace. She joins the Entente because she's fully convinced that the Allies are going to win, and that if she does not take Transylvania now, she will probably never have another opportunity to do so. Romania enters the war because she can no longer ignore the facts with which she is confronted. Her king is a Hohenzollern, yet he could not, if he would, alter the settled resolve of the Romanian people to realize their national aspirations. Constantine of Greece, who is merely a Hohenzollern, I gotta figure out how to say that properly, by marriage, will be equally unable to prevent the Greeks from seeking their territorial expansion by siding with the winners before it is too late. There will be tremendous changes in the Balkans within the next 3 months. Concentrated on the frontier as they were, the armies of Romania have at once begun a vigorous advance. The great range of the Transylvanian Alps form a barrier protecting Transylvania from invasion launched from the south, save at 2 or 3 points where the passes are suitable for military operations. Through 2 of these passes, the Tomos, a few miles south of Kronstadt, or as the Magyars call it, Brasso, and the Verestorolni Pass, 75 miles to the west, and about 15 miles south of Hermannstadt, the other important town of southern Transylvania. The Romanians are seeking to make their way northward. The passes are traversed by trunk railways, and I have to find out what the hell a trunk railway is. I keep hearing about it as well in the headlines about the Grand Trunk Railway in the United States. I have no clue what they are. And the Romanian transport arrangements are very complete and up to date. Hard fighting should begin in both passes almost at once. In southern Macedonia, the Serbs who hold that part of the front of the Allies east of the Cerna Valley are pressing a vigorous offensive, the object of which clearly is to draw the Bulgars into the remotest corner of southwestern Macedonia, far from railway lines of retreat, should retreat become necessary. The Greek army, in accordance with instructions, is still retiring from the territory line between Kavala and the lines of the Allies along the Struma River. This abandonment of soil, for which Greece paid heavily in blood and treasure, is infuriating the populace and making it almost impossible for the king and his pro-German staff to hold the army in leash. On all other fronts, there's been little of importance to record. British heavy artillery is at work on the positions behind the German line south of Bapaume, and a general assault on Thiepval, Flers, and Ginchy is likely to be made soon. German reports tell of the British and French repeatedly storming against the Teuton lines without success. Of these operations, Sir Douglas Haig speaks as minor successful enterprises. The Russians have been inactive except in the Asiatic sphere of operations. There they have continued the recovery of territory in the Bitlis region taken by the Turks in their recent offensive, which has come to an end. Sounds like the Brusilov offensive has come to an end as well then. The Romanian, oh my God, look at this one, eh? The Romanians have the center of the stage. The fog of war has descended in the Balkans more thickly than ever. There is no hint from Bucharest as to the direction in which the Romanian army will launch its principal attack. Berlin official reports state that in the Carpathians along the frontier adjacent to Bukovina, a combined advance by Russians and Romanians has begun, and that Austro-Hungarians are in touch with the vanguard of the invading army. This offensive is directed towards the Hungarian plain from the extreme northwest of Romania at a point quite 150 miles from the pass to the south of Kronstadt in Transylvania, where the Romanians attacked on Sunday night immediately after the declaration of war. The piercing of the Austrian defenses on the heights of the Transylvanian Alps and the main Carpathian range may prove slow and costly work, of a nature similar to the Italian advance in the Trentino. And until the passes are cleared and the way is open for a descent into Hungary and Transylvania, large bodies of Russian and Romanian troops may have to remain inactive for weeks, as only a very limited number of men can be used to advantage in mountain warfare, confined to such a narrow front as that of the Carpathian passes. Vienna admits that the Romanians have forced back the Austrian troops, but that cannot be taken as evidence of a disposition to abandon the mountain gateways through which alone Hungary and Transylvania can be invaded. While the struggle in high altitudes continues, Russia is certain to join hands with Romania in an attack upon Bulgaria, which lies open to an invading army through the coastal strip of Romanian territory known as the Dobruja, a part of which formerly belonged to Bulgaria, but was taken from her by the Romanians after the Second Balkan War. It is announced that the Russians are constructing 4 pontoon bridges across the Danube near Tulchka, about 40 miles from the mouth of the river. Already at Reni, opposite Galatz, a little farther up, large Russian forces are concentrated. And as Russia has absolute control of the Black Sea, she can use the Romanian port of Constanța as a base of supplies for an army advancing across the Dobruja to attack Bulgaria. 100 miles farther south along the coast is the Bulgarian port of Varna, which will undoubtedly be one of the first points within Bulgarian territory to be attacked by the Allied army of invasion. The logic of the situation, the necessity of securing a decision in the Balkan sphere of operations before winter sets in, and the preparations for the movement of troops in the delta of the Danube indicate the probability of an assault on Bulgaria along the Black Sea littoral, altogether independent of the Romanian attack upon Transylvania. The unfolding of the plans of the Allies, particularly if Greece casts in her lot with them, may show that their great offensive this season in the east is to be devoted to the elimination of the Bulgar and the Turk, so that when the final roundup comes, the Allied armies can advance without fear of an attack from the rear. When the fog lifts a week or so hence, the Russians and Romanians may be discovered smashing their way into Bulgaria along the 100-mile stretch of frontier between Rostock on the Danube and Varna on the Black Sea. The Dobruja frontier presents an open door to the invader. There are not even important watercourses to be forded at this season of the year. These speculations, for they are only speculations, may be proved foundationless, and the entire combined Russian and Romanian strength may be directed upon the Hungarian front with the intention of speedily overrunning and occupying Transylvania in eastern Hungary and destroying or seizing the crops now being reaped there, which are necessary to the sustenance of the people of Austria-Hungary and Germany during the coming winter, which is going to be the turnip winter. I did find out it is. Whatever course is taken, it is certain that the general outlines of the Romanian campaign have been approved by the War Council of the Allies and fit in with the plans made by the Council for the coordination of the efforts of the Allied troops on all fronts. Romania is not playing a lone hand. There has been no important change on any part of the eastern or western fronts during the past 24 hours. Some small gains were made by British troops north of the Somme during the night, but bad weather made operations most difficult yesterday. And there was only one small infantry engagement, although the artillery on both sides was quite active. General Haig states that since July 1st, 266 German officers and 15,203 men have been taken by the British troops, together with 86 guns, 160 machine guns, and much more material. The French have repulsed several strong German counterattacks on the northern Verdun front, but this sphere of operations is no longer of the first importance. The reserves of the Crown Prince's army of Verdun are being drawn upon to make good losses on the Somme and in the eastern campaign, and there is no longer force enough in the German attacks to win fresh ground. Joffre, with the splendid help of Pétain, Nivelle, and their brave men, has made good the assertion he made when the BERTHA campaign opened, and which became the battle cry of the French troops: they shall not pass. Official statements from Paris regarding the operations on the Salonika front announced that the French and Serbs are advancing and that the latter have repulsed strong Bulgarian attacks in the region northwest of Lake Ostorovo and farther to the south. It is added that despite the allusions in official Bulgarian communications to alleged successes southwest of Florina and elsewhere, in reality, since the beginning of operations, the Bulgarians have occupied only the undefended portion of Greek territory, which to the west of Lake Ostorovo, to the left wing of the Serbian army, has stopped all enemy attacks and inflicted heavy losses. Though Bulgars take more than war tactics from Berlin. Hold on, I'm going to stop here for a sec too. Get more water. Romanians' first war bulletins indicate that Romanian troops have crossed the summit of the Transylvanian Alps, occupied the Tomos Pass, south of Kronstadt, and are now holding a position on the foothills 3 miles from Kronstadt. I'm just going to say this on a side note. I can't stop thinking about Paul Hederer while I'm reading about this. I'm just like, what would he be thinking about this? During these operations, 734 prisoners have been taken after what the dispatch speaks of as a fairly lively fighting. The rapidity with which the Romanians have occupied the chief pass through the mountain barrier, walling off Transylvania from the south, gives an air of probability to the statement from Berlin that certain parts of Transylvania are to be evacuated by the Austro-Hungarian troops in order to shorten their line of defense. Vienna, in an official report dealing with the later events that those referred to in the Bucharest dispatch, practically admits evacuation in the statement that, in accordance with plans provided for a long time ago in case of war, the Austrian troops have been withdrawn from the frontier step by step. The enemy, it is added, will boast of having occupied Pestrozny, Kronstadt, and Kezdizvárli. Oh, I'd love somebody, Paul Hederer can say them. The first mentioned town is far to the west of the Tomos Pass and well over the summit. To reach it, the Romanians traversed the Vulcan Pass, 1,194 feet high before descending the northern slope of the range. There have been artillery actions along the Danube, during one of which the Romanian shells destroyed a petroleum depot in Orsova. That's interesting to hear, right? But the trucks too, remember. Germany has been drawing from Romania's oil fields most of the petroleum used for motors operating on her various battlefronts. The cutting off of these supplies will be one of the most serious results of Romania's adhesion to the Entente. An intimate view of the Romanian army is given by a New York businessman who spends much of his time in the Balkans and has lived in the Romanian oil region for the past 18 months. The army is one of the best officered armies in the world. I say this without qualification. As regards the soldiers, I know of none except perhaps those of Japan, who are so hardy and healthy. In the oil fields, we employ thousands of these big peasants, and it is a common thing for a workman to walk 12 miles through the snow to his work 11 hours, and then walk back home at night. The principal food of the Romanian army is a dish they call marmeliga, which is nothing but boiled cornmeal. Woof. With this, they have dried meats, cascarel, which is cheese made from goat's milk, and dried fish with a little tea or coffee on the side. These things are plentiful in Romania, and the menu is itself the best proof of the simple problem that confronts Romania when it comes to the subsistence of her fighting men. These are the troops who are now swarming over the mountain ranges of Transylvania to emancipate the 3 million people of their own race from the age-long oppression of the Magyars. They are likely to make a thorough job of it. Germany shows increasing signs of overstrain. It is announced that all officials of military age hitherto exempted from active service because declared indispensable to the efficient carrying on of the public service are now being submitted to medical examination. Such as are found fit must take their places in the ranks. This measure indicates that Germany's reserves are exhausted, and that to meet the new conditions created by Romania's accession to the Allied cause, practically every German capable of bearing arms is to be sent to the front. Another evidence of strain is the dismissal of von Falkenhayn from the supreme command of Germany's armies, which he held as chief of the general staff in the appointment of von Hindenburg, the national military hero, to that high office. Falkenhayn thus pays the price for toadying the emperor and crown prince. He consented to the Verdun enterprise at the urgent request of the latter, despite the reported strong protests of Hindenburg, Mackensen, and many other experienced leaders who were not courtiers and considered only the military aspect of the projected campaign, and were not greatly concerned about giving the crown prince another chance to distinguish himself. And I think that's a pile of bull, as we all know, because it was Falkenhayn that came up with Verdun. His first step was been to clean house. Trust me, the crown prince did not, from the get-go, as far as I know, was like, this is effed. 30 generals had been relieved of their commands, according to cables from Holland, and new fact checker, isn't it? Among the new old officers who have received high commands is von Bernhardi. I know him, the famous military writer who had much to do in planting the idea of world conquest in the German mind. He goes to the Kovel sector, the Volhynian front, where the menace of the barbaric Slav will be more than a phrase-maker's well-turned sentence. Turkey's declaration of war on Romania affords evidence of how completely the Turkish government is dominated by Germany. Romania has no quarrel with Turkey and cannot hope to expand at her expense. Bulgaria lies between Turkey and Europe and the Romanian frontier, but because Turkey has still some available troops, which are being sent to the aid of the Bulgars and the Austrians by the German masters of Constantinople, it becomes necessary to regularize the situation by a declaration of war. The assertion is made that, quote, 120,000 Turks are to be used in the defense of Bulgaria from attack along the Danube or across the Dobruja. That will be good news for the Grand Duke Nicholas, who has had his hands full for the last 2 months, holding back the Turks in southern Armenia. It was feared early in August that a large part of the territory conquered by him might have to be given up. The Russians evacuated both Mush and Bitlis, but they once more hold Mush. And a dispatch from Petrograd states that they are again within 6 miles of Bitlis and still advancing. Left without reinforcements and adequate supplies because of the assumption of fresh obligations in Europe, the Turkish army of Armenia will quickly fall to pieces. Here we are with the last little tiddly bit. Bad weather still hinders operations on the Western Front. The midnight French official report states that there was artillery activity on the Somme front, that in Lorraine, near Réalton, some German detachments twice attempted to attack and were driven back by the French artillery, and elsewhere the day passed without incident. General Haig reports that on the British portion on the Somme front, there has been a deal of artillery activity on both sides, despite bad weather. A small salient in the German front, south of Martinpuy, was occupied by British infantry and some prisoners captured. And that's it. And I hope that went well. And I hope you enjoyed it. And I hope to see you next week. Hope you have a good one.